The other day on my stream, somebody asked me what it would take for me to recommend MapleStory to a friend, to somebody who doesn't play MapleStory, somebody who hasn't grown up with it like I'm sure a lot of us have. And it made me think of what's still kind of wrong with this game and what needs to be improved quite a bit for me to actually recommend this game to somebody who has never played it before, maybe hasn't even heard of it before, and somebody just in general from the West, because this game obviously is not a typical Western type of game. So a lot of the concepts that I'm going to be talking about in this game, I'll break them down in case you are also new to the game and you didn't know how things work. And I want to make it clear, this is not a doomer posting video. This is just criticism from the game that I wish could be better. And I'm sure most of us would agree would make the game a much more enjoyable experience. Now, I love MapleStory. I've been playing it for so long. I've progressed so far into the game so many times, and I keep playing it after all these years. But there are things that I wish the game had, and it would just make it so much better, to be honest with you. And the first thing that I want to talk about is I wish this game had some sort of sandbox mode. So what do I mean by sandbox mode? I wish that when you logged into this game for the first time, there was a world that was called like tutorial world or something like that, and you would be able to try out every single one of the classes in the game. There are so many classes in this game. There's legit like 50 classes, and they're all very different from each other with different play styles, different movement, different mobbing capabilities, different bossing rotations, different buff orders, like all these different things about these different classes, right? And I'm sure so many of you, one of the hardest decisions you make while playing this game is you don't know what to main. And I feel like if there was some sort of sandbox mode that lets you play any single class in the game at level 275 in like some custom map, some custom world that had these like custom bosses and maps that you could train in and mess around with, and it's just to try the classes out, right? Some sort of like demo version of the game. I wish this game had something like that. It honestly needs it. Like, there's so many classes in this game. There's only going to be more classes coming out, so why don't we have some sort of sandbox or demo mode? I feel like it would make this game so much more enjoyable for people, because there's so many classes that change like when you're level 200. I'll give you a perfect example. Hayato is unironically one of the most shit ass classes under 200, but after level 200 the class changes completely. It's a whole different class, and you would not know that if you only got your characters to 200. Like when you're doing Legion, you have a lot of characters at level 200 like I do right here, and you don't get the full scope of the class just getting it to 200. You only get first through fourth job, which honestly these days isn't really that impactful towards knowing what the class does. You need to know what the fifth job does, and you need to know what the sixth job does as well, but getting to that point takes a while. So I wish there was some sort of sandbox mode that helped people know what the classes did and help them decide what their main is. I feel like this would help so many more people get into the game because they'll have something to look forward to. For example, let's say you're playing Mercedes, and Mercedes first through fourth job is like whatever, like you have just basic combos. You could practice the combos so that when you're training it, it's a lot easier. But once your fifth job and sixth job, you have this insane crazy burst that you never knew you had, and then you'll look forward to that as you're playing the game, and you'll be like, man, Mercedes gets really strong when you get all the skills together. I wish it had something like this. This game would be so much better and easier to get into. A common thing you'll notice in this video is a lot of criticism that I have on this game is about getting eased into it, because most people that try this game for the first time, they don't make it that far. They're not going to get to 280. They're not going to get to 285. They're just going to hit some wall at some point and not know what to do. And I feel like if there was a way that you could try out the classes, it would give people a lot more motivation to stick around longer and more to look forward to. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is Meso and drop gear. And this one might be controversial, to be honest with you, but I think Meso and drop gear is so overdue on this game, to be honest with you. In my perfect world, in my head, there wouldn't even be Meso and drop gear. There would just be set rates for things, and that's it. You don't have to invest potentially dozens of bill on making an entire set of training gear only. There would just be set rates for things, and that's it. You just kill it and you're good. But that might be a tall order for MapleStory because we've already invested in so much training gear and stuff like that. But I think a reasonable middle ground is to give a starter player pack that boosts you in the early game. Now, what do I mean by this? I think it's pretty counterintuitive to play this game and you spend your mesos on things that don't necessarily make you stronger directly. And by stronger, I mean increase the amount of damage you do per line. Now, obviously, we know that Meso and drop gear does make you stronger because it gives you more resources. But I've noticed that a lot of new players feel a little weird. They would rather spend their money on increasing their damage, which I think is the natural conclusion you would go to when you start playing a game. Like, oh, I want to increase my damage. And you don't really know that you have to make your Meso and drop gear. So I wish that when you first started playing this game, there was some sort of thing in the cash shop, maybe even if it costed money or if it costed maple points or something like that, that would just give you a very basic set of Meso and drop gear. It doesn't even have to be boss accessories. It could just be like a custom gear that you can only get through that set when you're a new player, and you would have the Meso drop gear. Or even on top of that, just a set that's permanently in the cash shop that gives you a basic set of Meso drop gear. So like 5 lines of Meso and maybe like 3 lines of drop or something like that. I feel like that would get the ball rolling for so many people early on into the game, and it would motivate them to get further into the game. Because to be honest with you, most people when they're grinding 0 to 260 like on their hyper burn, the very, very early part of the game where you don't have any Meso and drop gear is actually quite annoying to get the original Meso and drop gear that you start with, because you have no income. So I feel like if you had a little bit of a higher income when you start the game, it would motivate people to go way, way, way further into the game. And this one is for Nexon, to be honest with you. And I'm sure everybody can agree with this. The more time you spend on the game, the higher likelihood that you buy an X. Because at the end of the day, we all know that Nexon is a company and they just want money. That's just how it is. And if your players get into the game more, then therefore there's probably a higher likelihood that they buy an X. So Nexon would make more money too. Like, everybody wins in this situation. You enjoy the game more because you get further into it, and Nexon enjoys their profits more because there's probably a higher likelihood that people buy an X because they're more into the game. Like, let's think about League of Legends for a second here. If you're somebody who plays the game every day and you main a champ, you're probably going to buy a skin for the champ, most likely. But if you're somebody who just plays seasonally, you're probably not going to buy a skin because you don't care that much. And it's the exact same thing with MapleStory. If you're somebody who plays every day, you're probably going to buy an X. If you don't play every day, you're not going to buy an X. It's very natural. Like, I don't think this is like a hot take or anything like that. So I think having some sort of starter package or some sort of starter boost, whether it's like a beginning 2x coupon amplification or Meso and drop gear at the very start of the game, could be very beneficial for new players. Now, with that in mind, I think another thing that could be really good for this game is permanent hyperburn. So what do I mean by permanent hyperburn? I don't think that hyperburn should be part of a big event. I think that anytime you make a new account, you should always have a hyperburn available to you. This way, when somebody wants to get into the game, they can experience a class to a much further extent than they normally would have. Basically, my mindset throughout all of this is make the early game as easy as possible to transition into the mid game so that you can enjoy the game more. Because from my personal experience and from people that I've known throughout a very long time, I've seen that once people make it past that early game push, they probably stick around because the game is enjoyable when you have the foundation set up. When you have good Legion, you have Meso drop gear, you're 260 plus, you're able to start training, the game is very enjoyable. But getting that initial foundation set up is very annoying, to be honest with you. It is very annoying. On top of that hyperburn on a new account permanently, I think that there should be a lot of level 150 burns. Why level 150 burns? I think having like 12 150 burns when you start your account could be huge because it'll make you get your link skills right away. Now, Nexon actually has thought of this, so I got to give him a little bit of credit. The 0 to 100 event that we have right now, where you could train a character 0 to 100 once a day, 7 times, is actually really good because you can get your basic link skills sorted out. I think it just needs to be more. It needs to be maybe to level 120 so you get your level 2 link skill, and maybe 12 characters instead of 7 so that you could fill out all of your link slots. The next thing I want to talk about is Vac Pet. Now, for those who don't know, Vac Pet is a pet that can just suck up all the items around it, and it makes looting way easier. But here's the thing about Vac Pet. It's only available like 2 times a year for like a 2-week period. So only like 4 weeks in the entire year you can get this, which I think is so stupid. Like, honestly, I could make a whole video about FOMO on this game and how dumb it is, but it's so stupid that you can only have this available for like a 1 month total throughout the entire year, and it costs so much money. It costs $100 to buy this. Granted, you can discount it with reward points to get it down to like $69, but honestly, most people are not going to have 34,000 reward points laying around, so they're going to be spending $100. And on top of that, it lasts for only 3 months, and then you have to pay $14 to $15 every single month to revive it for 1 month. This thing is so ridiculously expensive, but the crazy part is it's so important. 99% of people, if you want to get to late to end game, you have one of these, because it's just that important to your looting, to your meso rates, and how much easier it makes the game for you. Like at this point, I'm close to saying that this thing is just mandatory to get to end game. Like it's so valuable, and they make it so difficult to get. So a person who doesn't have Vac Pet, and you watch a streamer or you watch a YouTube video, you watch like something from me, and you see me running around maps and I have a Vac Pet and it's so easy to loot, it's like, honestly, it's just unfair. Like, it needs to be available all the time, and in my opinion, it needs to be a one-time purchase. I'm sick of this whole like just paying every single month for this shit. It needs to just be a one-time purchase, and I promise you a lot of more people will buy it because it's a one-time purchase. And if it's available all the time, the sales will increase. You'll make more money out of it. I don't know why we're still on this like archaic ass system of things only being available for a limited amount of time, and not only that, we also have to like revive them every single month. I'm sure a lot of people watching this video would probably be down to spend a little bit more on an X if it was actually permanent and you didn't have to revive it and you could transfer it wherever you want. That's a whole other thing that I want to mention as well. We need a better cash shop just in general. The fact that these items are locked on my Explorer cash shop. For those who don't know, different races in this game have different cash shop inventories. So for example, this Heartbeat Pitter Pat F top, if I wanted it on my high auto, I would have to wait for a cash shop transfer event because they're in 2 different cash shops. And the cash shop transfer event is another thing that only happens like 2 times a year. So like you would have to wait like 6 months to transfer an item that you paid for. You bought this and you can't even put it anywhere you want. I think it's so stupid. If everybody had a unified cash shop, I promise you people would buy more NX because they could just bling out literally all of their characters. On top of that, these premium surprise style boxes, not only are they too expensive, they need to have a pity system. I know it just sounds like I'm whining, to be honest with you, but it's just so crazy. Let me give you a little bit of context. If you play almost any other MMO or just any other game, you're not spending as much money as you do on Maple. Like you need to spend $34 to get a random chance of getting an item. This game, like the inventor of the gacha system, like the RNG fucking box system, it's so outdated. Think about the other big popular games, League of Legends, Fortnite, Valorant. Like those games, they're systems that you can just guaranteed get what you want. Like on League, you could just choose a skin, buy it, and you're good. And there's discounts on those items as well. Now, granted, they also do have loot box systems, but it's not the only thing that they have. That's my issue, is that this game literally only has loot box systems. And sure, you can say like sometimes they have packages and stuff like that. A lot of the times the packages are ass. And not only that, they're for like limited time availability, so there's a FOMO aspect to them. But I promise you, leave a comment below if you would actually buy boxes a little bit more if they had a pity system. So for example, every single set of boxes you got to choose an item in the set that you get guaranteed, and then the rest are random. Something as simple as that. I feel like a lot of people would buy more boxes because at least you get your item, whereas instead of buying 2 sets of boxes, you just get like 5 shoes and you just get bricked. Now, following that trend, the MVP rewards need to be better. So they have this system in the game basically where the more money that you spend, the higher like rank you are in terms of spending money. So how it works is MVP red is the highest amount, right? And what you get from it is you get 2x coupons, you get MVP, you get a hyper rock that you could use on all your characters, you get a title and a medal and stuff like that. Like you get some good stuff, but it's not enough. It's not enough for how much you pay for it, right? MVP red, you're spending $500 a month on this game. I honestly think not even just MVP red rewards, right? I think all the tiers need to be better. Let's say, for example, you you got to silver through MVP, why not get a pet that you can claim on all of your characters that has the pet buffs? That would make it so much easier to play every other character instead of having to spam potions while you're doing Legion, instead of having to manually buff while doing boss meals. You just have a pet that you can use across all your characters instead of transferring pets across your characters. If you get to gold, you get 2 pets, and maybe you get a set of boxes every single month for being gold as a little bit of bonus. You get to diamond, it's like two sets of boxes, premium surprise style boxes, a bunch of royals, and so you could change your hair and face across your characters, stuff like that. I feel like these rewards need to be better, and if the rewards were better, then more people would be incentivized to get it. Like, it's very simple. And honestly, speaking of hyper rocks, why do we even still have these in the game? Like, why do we even still have hyper rocks? What does a hyper rock do? Let's think about it, right? You could save a map, you could select the town, and you could teleport to someone. The only thing that this is useful for is teleporting to someone, to be honest with you. Why can't we just open the minimap and double click any location and just go there? Why do we need to buy a hyper rock to go there? Like, this is so old and outdated and it makes no sense. Can't I just like teleport somewhere and go there? Why do I need the hyper rock? And then selecting towns, bro, we already have the guide for this. If you open the guide, you could just go to any town and just instantly go there. Like, why do I need the hyper rock to go there? That feature doesn't even make sense anywhere. Anyways, just get rid of hyper rocks. Like, that shit's outdated. We don't even need that anymore. Now, this next thing that I want to talk about, again, it might be controversial because it's something that we're so used to, but hear me out. I think the concept, just overall, the concept of things expiring on this game, you see how it says usable until 7/5/2024, usable until 7/2/2024, usable until 7/7. I think the fact that things can expire in this game is so stupid. Like, it's my item. Why does it expire? Like, the expiration is only created to make you log in every single day so that you can just be forced to use your items and you can't just wait. I think things expiring just in general is so stupid. Why does it have to expire? Why can't it just sit here forever until I find a use case for it? How many times have you guys had flames expiring and you're like, oh man, like, I don't know what to use my flames on. I'm just gonna chuck it on this random item because like, I don't know what else to do with it. Or how many times have you had cubes and you're just like, ugh, I might as well use it, it's expiring. Or you just let it expire because you have nothing to do with it and you potentially lost on some gains on it. Like, why do things expire? Like, the concept of expiration, 2x, oh, my coupons are expiring, I need to go train, my coupons are expiring. Why? Like, why are we forced to be used to this? I feel like things expiring just shouldn't be a thing. We should just be able to use whatever we have whenever we want. I think it's really stupid. I understand why Nexon has implemented this as a concept in the game. There are so many concepts in this game that just revolve around FOMO. Even something as small as like your Legion coins capping, they don't just stack forever because it forces you to log in every day. FOMO is honestly a whole other subject, but because of FOMO on this game, we're forced to deal with so many unnecessary things that I feel like could be way better. So in conclusion, these are just some things that I think could be better in the game. And if they were changed, it would make me recommend this game more to people. You know what's really funny? I would love to hear you guys' stories on trying to get a friend into this game and what the experience was like, whether it was a positive one or a negative one or maybe neutral. Let me know in the comments below how it was. I'll give you guys a quick story on how it was for me trying to get a friend into the game. I tried to get my friend who I grew up with, who doesn't play MapleStory at all. I played a lot of Pokemon and like Mario games with him, right? I tried to get him onto MapleStory. He was having a lot of fun until he hit like level 160. And then after 160, he was like, man, leveling is too slow. Granted, this was a long time ago. This was like 3 years ago. But it's just really funny to see that because it's like level 160, he like quit and just didn't want to play anymore. So I think the early game needs to be accelerated even faster than what it is. Nexon is doing those types of things, but it's not enough. It needs to be even more. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you enjoyed this video, consider watching some of my other videos. I make a lot of guides on my channel that help you guys progress through the game. Anything from early game all the way to end game. And if you want to talk to me directly, have these conversations with me, I stream almost every single day. And with that being said, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much to my beautiful members, Blazefire, Shooms, Uju, Shagad, Ravi Espa, Grim4K, Koga, Pabo, Picolneer, Jesse, Dante Victory, Zats, and CK. I appreciate you guys so much.